Your weekly review is the linchpin piece of your plan. It's what really makes everything come together and be useful in your life. So, this month, January 2021, we're going to be talking about the pieces that need to be in your weekly review to make it happen and make it work. Let's get started today with piece number one, step number one. So, a weekly review is something that we talk a lot about at Simply Convivial because it makes such a big difference in how your planning actually works in real life. Too often, our planning is grounded in wishful thinking. And the weekly review is a way to bring the goals and the day to day and the calendar pieces all together into a doable, realistic plan for the week. So this month, we're going to demystify the process and learn how to do it in half an hour or less. There are 3 steps to a basic weekly routine plan, and today in this episode, we are going to talk about the first step. But you don't want to miss any of the steps along the way. So be sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, so you don't miss a single episode of Simply Convivial. So there's one big difference between a realistic, workable, doable plan and an idealistic, wishful thinking plan. The big difference is reviewing your current situation, reviewing the past week and where you are actually at right now. Too often when we sit down to plan, we immediately move to future mode and thinking about what we want to do, what we think we need to do, what our goals and our plans will be. But in order to know what we really need to do next, we have to start by looking at what just happened. Where are we actually at? How did the last set of plans actually work out? Unless we take that into account, take into account what's going on in life right now, how our planning systems and planning habits are actually working for us right now, and where we're at, we don't know what we need to do next. Next comes after right now. So, where are you at right now? Your weekly review process needs to begin with thinking about the previous week, not immediately jumping into next week. So, step number one for your weekly review is to sit down with a blank sheet of paper and just brain dump. 5 minutes or less. What are the major highlights of the last week? What were your biggest pain points or struggles last week? What happened last week? Use your calendar as a prompt or even your previous plans. How did things go? And assess. This isn't a time to be self-critical, although that is our usual default tendency. But it's also not a time to be superficially encouraging either. We need to look at reality and our current actual situation. So write down the good and the bad, both, about the previous week as your first step of the weekly review. Usually, while thinking that through, you will also start thinking about what needs to happen in consequence of what has happened. And so you should take those notes as well. They will mix and mingle on your page, and that's totally okay. It's a brain dump. It's not a neat set of analysis. In fact, that's actually part of the point. Instead of thinking of the coming week as a blank slate that you can do whatever you want with, you are starting your thinking and brainstorming process with looking back. Your brain will automatically mingle the future with the looking back. You will choose what needs to happen next based on you're thinking through the previous week. And that will allow you to choose the right next thing, the best next thing, the thing that makes sense next, instead of just the thing that sounds good or that appeals most. So we don't start by making a to-do list or thinking about what needs to happen next. We actually start by thinking about what has already happened. And then let that start triggering thoughts about what to do in connection to what's already going on and what has already happened. That's just a brain dump. It is free form notes on a page. So don't do this on your planner page unless your planner page has a spot for brain dumping and weekly review notes. Just use a spiral notebook or even the back of an envelope. This is just free for all brainstorming that you're going to throw away at the end of the 30 minutes. You're not making a keepsake and you're not actually creating your plan. You are just getting the juices flowing and being sure that what you end up putting on your plan at the end of your weekly review makes sense based on what's happened and where you're actually at right now. That's step one of your weekly review, is to actually review. Now, you might be skeptical about your ability to pull off a weekly review or any other consistent planning habit. And why are you skeptical? Because past experience seems to indicate that planning just doesn't work for you. Been there. Sometimes it's true, but it doesn't need to be. Real, honest planning is way better than flying by the seat of your pants. You know what actually is preventing your plans from working for you? You. I experience this all the time, but we get in our own way and trip ourselves on our own shoelaces. But it doesn't have to be that way. Your plan can be engaging and helpful. It can keep you at peace with your reality instead of stressed out and overwhelmed. But for that to be true, it has to be realistic and you have to follow through on it while remaining flexible. It's not the plan that matters so much as the habits of planning, both making it and using it. It's those habits plus the attitude and the mindset that we need that we focus on inside Simply Convivial Continuing Education, which provides self-paced but interactive training for Christian homemakers who want not just to do a good job, but also enjoy their life while doing so. Is that you? Then Simply Convivial Continuing Education is for you. Check it out and start with the free brain dump at simplyconvivial.com. And until next time, remember, repent, rejoice, repeat.